The kids don't understand it today. They don't understand it. In the early 70s, we had some incredible bands. Before the punk nonsense came along. Now, these bands could really play. Incredible live acts we had. Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple. I mean, you had to see Deep Purple live to believe, you know, what they were like. Incredible rock. Free. What a band. Paul Rodgers, what a singer. Yeah, these were the real classic, you know, rock bands of the early 70s. I mean, these Led Zeppelin, I mean, there's never been a live act like it. You think of the chemistry that exists in that band, you know, John Bonham, Jimmy Page, John Paul Jones, Robert Plant on vocals, you know, all that vocal histrionics, you know, those incredible guitars. As some people say that, you know, Jimmy Page was a bit fumbly. I don't know. I don't have it. No, they're an incredible band, really incredible. Kids don't understand it, do they? You know, I mean, what do kids listen to today that has anything approaching like the likes of a Deep Purple or a Led Zeppelin? I mean, who do they listen to now? Queen? Yeah, well... Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, I'm going through my checklist. Yeah, I mean, Robert Plant's a great singer, but I mean, yeah, Freddie Mercury. I don't know. I've never quite liked Queen like I like Led Zeppelin. No, something about them. Perhaps the fact that they were out of the 1980s. I don't know what it is. The thing with Queen is that Led Zeppelin never did. Led Zeppelin always were great because you had a great riff, you had a great, great drum beat, and then Robert over the top, push it, all that's incredible stuff. Whereas what Queen, I know what you're saying. They did all that, but you know they also wrote in like these pop songs, you know, like "We Are the Champions," and I don't know. I mean. They did what Zeppelin did, but they were also writing these pop songs that everybody loved with, well, I suppose you say, yeah, incredible melodies, incredible hooks, right? So I am lampooning myself here, right? I am lampooning myself. In 1980, when I was buying Motorhead albums and I was buying Police albums and Maiden albums, and I had made that step into becoming a music fan. So 1980 it happened, and I also, I had it for Christmas actually. I had The Game by Queen, and I love this album. It was there, you know, tracks like Dragon Attack. It was all amazing, and I thought they were really great. So I wonder what it was about Queen where I didn't pursue them in the same way as I pursued a Led Zeppelin. Because a year later, 1981, when I heard Led Zeppelin, and I thought they were great. I thought they were great the same way as I thought Queen were great. But in hearing Zeppelin, there was something about them where the first album I bought was Led Zepp 2. Second album I bought was Led Zepp 4, the Untitled album. Once I'd got those two albums, I realised that this was my favourite band. And I went out and bought every single album. I bought Led Zeppelin 1 and then 3, then House of the Holy, then Physical Graffiti, then Presence, and then In Through the Outdoor. And at that point in 92, when I'd got everything, Coda came out. And Led Zeppelin were my favourite band. And all that stuff, and I stand by it. Led Zeppelin are one of the great bands. They really are. The difference between Led Zeppelin and Queen is that Led Zeppelin never wrote a tune. They wrote great songs. I mean, Thank You's a great song, you know, without a doubt, beautiful melody. Going to California, Tangerine, That's the Way. So there's some lovely tunes. It's not like I'm saying Zeppelin couldn't write great songs. They wrote absolutely great songs. But could they write a song that people could sing down the pub? You know, no. And so Queen, although inhabiting all the aspects of Led Zeppelin, and in a way coming out of Led Zeppelin in terms of that sort of, in the early days, that sort of rock star, rock band sort of flash, also had the touch of the Chaz and Dave about them, didn't they? And I think the rock snob in me distrusted that. Now, as I'm older, I go, my God, they had all that Zeppelin had or Deep Purple had, and they had that as well. And they could dish it out or not dish it out. Now, these ideas have been brewing in my mind for a while about Queen, which starts with the niggle. It's a niggly fact that, you know, you can go on Spotify and look at the tracks that get streamed and you can go, no one's listening to Jimi Hendrix anymore. And Queen, in terms of the world, they're more well known than Led Zeppelin. There's no biopic of Led Zeppelin that's been made, but there's a biopic of Queen that's been made, and kids, right down to little kids, are all listening to Queen, and that makes me feel like I shouldn't like them, and I don't, you know, because they came out after Led Zeppelin. You know, in the early days, I know they were a great rock band in the early days. I know they were a great progressive rock band in the early days, but it's all a little bit derivative, isn't it, in the early days? In the early days, right? On this video, I want to get across my absolute love of Queen, all right? And I want to try and express why they are so bloody amazing and make the contentious point that their greatness might be justified in the fact that people still love them now and kids still love them now. It could well be that the greatest rock band of all time in history ever was Queen. I'm going to try and make this argument on this video. I'm going to try and describe on this video how great they are and why I love them so much. And I want to stake my love of Queen. I want to stake it to the world. And if you love Queen, at the end of this video, which will only be half an hour long, but in the next 30 minutes, I hope you will be sat and going, Andy has explained why they're so great, right? I'm not going to be going through biographical details. I'm not going to be going through technical details. I'm not going to try and prove they're great through their skill or anything like that, which is all apparent, or what they achieved in the industry, or what they innovated, or how many records they sold. I'm going to describe why I love them. I think this is important to do. This is important on my channel to do, is to come out here and explain why I love certain music. If I'm going to say I hate certain music, I need to say why I love certain music. And I really love the music of Queen. Do I have all their albums? No. This is a band that I deliberately, in knowing how great they are, still shoved them aside because of some weird rock snobbery. The sort of snobbery that I critique. But Queen were never loved in the early days by the critical elites. And I'm still not too sure whether they are now. It's a grudging liking. Okay? So, where do I start to try and explain this to you? Every now and then, because the address of this studio, the Jellyman Studios on Puxton Lane in Kidderminster, is public. That's where I reside now. You can go onto Google and find it. It's not my house. I don't live here. I live far, far away from here. Well, farish. But this is where I reside. And because of that, every now and then people come down to have a look round. Then they message me saying, I came down, you weren't there, Andy. No, you know, I wasn't there. But people very kindly send me records. It's an incredible thing. To arrive here on Monday morning and the security guard say that you've got a package. Oh, wow. Somebody sent me a couple of, not bootleg albums, but newly issued recordings from concerts that Queen had done in the 1970s and the 1980s. Now, as a kid, I can remember going to see probably something like Warlords of Atlantis, something like that with Doug McClure. Hey, Doug McClure, right? You may know me from Warlords of Atlantis, you know. Doug McClure reference and impersonation for you. You ain't going to get that on bloody Rick Beato, are you? Right, so anyway. So, they're watching Warlords Atlantis, and also, there was this film called Queen at the Rainbow. I was 10 years old. I didn't get it at all. Didn't get it. And that sort of put me off Queen, in a way, watching that. Later on, I recorded a big concert they'd done around about 1982, and I had that on video, and it was quite incredible. I used to watch it a lot, and that was my Queen thing, was these video recordings of their concerts. So they were incredible live, you know. This guy sent me CDs of those two recordings. I knew them. It's really hot here. I'm going to be doing a lot of YouTubing today, so I'm trying to keep myself hydrated. And I'm trying to keep this video as natural as possible. No editing. It literally is going to last 30 minutes. We've done 10 minutes, and I'm going to try and explain to you. It's old school YouTubing here. That's what I'm doing. My job here is to come out and communicate how much I love music or how much I hate music. And you may have noticed I've had a little bit of time off, first time in the history of the channel, and I've gone away and thought, and one of the things I've thought is that, Andy, with all the trickery and silliness that you do on the channel, in the end, your job is to sit in your studio with the camera on and not impart facts that are on Wikipedia. Yeah, people want that. But what they really want is a description of the love or the hate that they feel. Because it actually brings us together, it binds us together. There's nothing wrong with hating art. That's what it's there for. But to be able to express why you love something, and I do love Queen, but I had to be reminded of it, and I was reminded of it. You know, really gone, come on, Andy, just admit to it. Admit to yourself the truth, right? I've got a whole bunch of artists here that I'm going to spend 30 minutes explaining why I love them. Some of them I've loved for the whole time. But Queen, I've loved, like I said, I've told you the story. 1980, when I was 12 years old, I got my first Queen album, right? I then went and purchased Queen's Greatest Hits. And all those early things like Seven Seas of Rye and all that, I loved. Did I go and pursue them? No, I was stopped by this idea that they had a Chas and Dave type of vibe going on. Now, at my age now, I think that Chas and Dave are one of the greatest bands produced by this country. And I'm not joking. I think they were incredible, unbelievable. And I'm sure at some point, I've done a few videos on Chas and Dave, but there will be some more in the future. So I knew I was wrong all along. And so I arrived here on a Monday morning as a package for me. I opened up and there's two CDs in there. One, a recording of the Rainbow concert, full recording of that. Two, I think a recording of this 1982 gig that I'd had on video when it was broadcast on the Tube. I think it's the same concert. I actually went and stuck on the Rainbow concert thinking, oh, I remember that. I can remember sitting there waiting for bloody Doug McClure to appear and having to wade through at 10 years old this film of Queen at the Rainbow. I have a very strong memory of this. And I really just wanted to see some bloody, you know, lizards dressed up as dinosaurs, you know, filmed in slow motion. You know, that's what I wanted at that point. I didn't want Queen at that point. But now I'm older, much older. I'm in my car and I put it on. And they start up. Everything people say about Deep Purple or Jimi Hendrix or Led Zeppelin about them playing live and the experiences, blah, 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 and all of that, right? It's not true, right? Anybody who went to buy a ticket for any of those bands could get a good or a bad gig. But you're always going to get a little bit of flapping around here and a bit of fumbliness here. You know, it wasn't the incredible live show. Yes, stuff going on, incredible improvisations going on. But listen to Queen. My God, what a band. What a band. Incredible technical ability. Let's work from the bottom up. John Deacon, right? John Deacon's there. His bass playing is exploratory, it's interesting, but it's also nailed. His approach to bass is going to come up with one of the most significant bass lines in history. The bass line for Another One Bites the Dust, which, if you remember, is written by John Deacon, and he's John Deacon trying to play like Bernard Edwards from Chic, but outdoing Chic. Coming up with the bass line, which actually outdoes and becomes the one that everybody remembers. And I'm pretty sure if I came out of this channel and I went, oh, Chic, they're amazing, you know, everyone go, oh yeah, I know that sound, right? So John Deacon is a heavyweight and he's a songwriter and he writes songs like Another One Bites the Dust, which are incredible pop songs. Oh, so they have this incredible pop songwriter that also happens to play the bass, but also sings. Yeah, but they're all like that. Because Brian May is the same. Brian May built his own bloody guitar. He looks like a rock god. Back then, he's walking around in his white bloody robes, huge, massive Gino Vanelli hairstyle going on. And he's a rock god. And his guitar solos, if you go and listen to... But why is it that what becomes that sort of heavy metal guitar sound in the 1980s? And I do it. I go, rock guitar in the 70s, very blues influenced, people like Ritchie Blackmore, Jimmy Page, like neoclassical overtones with Ritchie Blackmore. That was very important. 1975 with Rainbow, and then you've got this, and we were describing it all. But we know at some point in the 1980s, this sort of speed, legato, sliding sound emerges. It becomes the sound. Where's that come from? Well, really, it really came from Eddie Van Halen and guitarists like Randy Rhoads and Michael Schenker, early John Roth, who was an early purveyor. No, it was bloody Brian May. 1973 sounds like that. And his guitar playing on this live album is shredding heavy metal. He's got the he's got the tone, he's got the sound, and he's got the speed of the facility. Now, this is coming out of the fact that he's built his own guitar with its own pickup sound, and he's playing the guitar with a bloody penny that he's filed down. And he has a lightness of tone, and he just flies. He's all over the place, right? And then he turns his guitar into an orchestra on these albums. He uses overdubbing to create a sort of huge electric string quartet. It's unbelievable. So we've got John Deacon and Brian May, giants. Roger Taylor. Roger Taylor's drumming is solid, but it's also absolutely perfect. And he negotiates shuffles on time signatures, all sorts of insane arrangements. And there isn't a foot put wrong. But Roger Taylor is also adding into these vocal harmonies, and he is singing above Freddie Mercury. Roger Taylor is iconic level singing. You're not aware of it, but it's iconic level singing. He's one of the greatest voices in rock and roll, right? His ability to sing so powered and controlled and up in that register is unbelievable. And putting on these live reissues that haven't been messed with, they are desk tapes of the time. Roger Taylor's ability to drum and do these vocals is astonishing. But of course, strutting around the stage, sometimes playing the piano, sometimes playing the guitar, but the greatest frontman of all time, the greatest rock vocalist of all time, a guy that is, in a way, the everyman, a little man, a little, not rock star material, but is able to inhabit that stage in a way that no one else has been able to do. That's incredible. Of course, if you're like 6'2" and you've got great blonde, sort of Viking hair sprouting out and a huge chest and jeans with a great big bulge in your trousers. Although, in terms of the trousers department, Freddie seemed to be as bulgy as anybody at that point. So even on that regard, he was able to keep up with the Joneses. Or the Johnsons, maybe, is a better way of describing it. See, there's jokes there. They're just not fully formed. Yeah, I'll just do that again. Yeah, so Freddie Mercury, in terms of the trousers department, was more than able to keep up with the Johnsons that were out there in the rock and roll amphitheatres around the world. So, as a band, they're just jaw-dropping. But then we have the material. Ogre Battle. Right? Ogre Battle's prog. Everyone's going to shout this at me. All the proggers always do it. If I mention Queen, the first 3 albums are amazing. They're prog. No, they're not prog. They're prog metal. Right? Rush, they're 74, 75. They're doing a bit of the old prog metal. Rainbow Rising, 76, 75. They're doing a bit of the old prog metal. Now, Queen invented it. They're there right from the start. They are a hard-rocking heavy metal band, as would have been described back then, with prog overtones, okay? The aspects of Queen, the keyboard-less aspects of Queen, which Rush also have. It's interesting when people try and make progressive rock in the mid-70s without that keyboard there. The keyboard has to be a little bit there, but Queen have it because they do it through the vocal overdubs and the guitar overdubs. By the time we get to the point of Sheer Heart Attack and then Tunes Like Killer Queen, I think what we're dealing with here is an approach to songwriting which I think is so brilliant in its personification of that early 70s glam metal, rock and roll pastiche, but futuristic approach that T-Rex had, that the Sweet had, dare I say Gary Glitter had, but was really turned into an art form by David Bowie. And David Bowie's approach to songwriting, that sort of glam metal, Ziggy Stardust approach, really is the most important faction of the progressive rock era to transmit into new wave music, you know, post-punk and stuff like that. They all want to be David Bowie. But Queen's doing it at a greater level. And for me, they're doing it without the pretense. In 1975, I can remember my mum's best friend moved house. And it was very exciting. They'd just moved in. And they got the telly wired up. And we went round to see this news house, which when you're a little kid, this is like a big deal, isn't it? It's like an otherworldly place. And as I walked into this otherworldly place, I walked into the living room looking around going, what's this? You know, they've got a new house. And on the television, playing for the first time, was Bohemian Rhapsody. I didn't know whether I loved it or I hated it. It was like music from another realm. Yeah, it's a progressive rock track. Of course it is. And it went to #1, and it's now one of the biggest tunes in the history of mankind. Lampooned in Wayne's World. It's huge. But my God, is it a progressive rock track? Did Yes ever do anything remotely close to the middle section of Bohemian Rhapsody? This is a remarkable band. As that sound develops, we move to albums like Jazz, which I think is their greatest album, by the way, and that is really contentious as well. But I think the sound that they have and the way they move from being this sort of proto-prog metal early 70s band to this pop band without, only by expansion. They don't compromise. What do you mean they don't compromise? Well, Fat Bottom Girls has to be the most bizarrely out there tune. Listen to it with its little ringy-dingy bell sounds, and it's like incredible guitar playing arrangement, all bonkers and strange. And what's it about? I don't really know. It was lampooned by Spinal Tap with Big Bottoms, wasn't it? Fat Bottoms Girls. But Big Bottoms by Spinal Tap is nowhere near as bizarre as Fat Bottom Girls. Fat Bottom Girls should be the lampoon of the lampoon. It satirizes itself before they even can attempt to do it. And how did Queen market such a record? By staging a bicycle race related to another tune that they've written, Bicycle, Bicycle, like the bizarre offshoot of Bike by Syd Barrett. All polished and strange. I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride my bike. I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride it where I like. What's he on about? It's an ode to him being free. In what way? To ride his bike? No, to be sexually free. And as soon as he states this in a very English way, it goes all rock and roll. It's all full of swagger. All the things he wants and all the things he doesn't want. And this track is somehow in some sort of strange marriage with fat-bottomed girls that make the rocking world go round. Some strange stompy ode, like it's come from the deep south of America, but it's about as English as you can get. Queen are bloody amazing. That they do not become more commercial. They do not sell out. They just take their own worldview. And I know this is going to be fundamentally the thing that I always come to on these videos when I get to the last 5 minutes. So I know I'm going to wrap up my description. is the reason why I love Queen so much is because they're Queen, and they created a world which, whether you liked it or not, was their world, and it doesn't have good or bad. It doesn't have right or wrong. It's beyond morals and ethics. It's purely aesthetic. It's purely aesthetic, and it is full of joy. The 1980s. It's a difficult time for all rock bands. They negotiate it about as well as they can. It's a kind of magic. It's almost musical theatre in its approach. But in that, it seems to explore a sort of aspect of musical theatre which is far more Red Shoes than it is Starlight Express, if you know what I'm saying. Almost Midsummer Night's Dream. The age-related death that then happens to Freddie Mercury strikes this man down, but doesn't strike down his resilience. Like David Bowie, his exit from this planet is also documented incredibly in that band. Unbelievable. Why? Because Freddie was a true artist, and in Queen he found some cohorts, but really it's about Freddie. This is about Freddie. Once he was gone and they brought Paul Rodgers in, and they brought that bloke in who's an incredible singer with all the makeup on. You know, it's not Queen, and we know it isn't. The other day Brian May said, you know, what do you want us to do next? And I felt like saying, stop. Stop. I know you want to get out and play this stuff. You're a multimillionaire. You're not doing it for the money. You're doing it for the love, and you want to see the people. You're a decent man. They're all decent men. You know, John Deacon knows this. He's disappeared off the face of the earth. He's not going to be involved in this debacle. It's about Freddie. Freddie was a force of nature. That's what it is. A force of nature harnessed within a rock band. The true sort of Nietzschean dream of the Superman fronting the band was probably instigated by Jim Morrison. But Jim didn't pull it off like Freddie, because Freddie was otherworldly. Right? He was childlike in a way. An incredible artist. Freddie Mercury's an incredible artist. So he's beyond the David Bowie. So I'm trying to take my shoe off just so I can try and cool down a little bit. Take my shoe off at the moment. All right, it's the first time I think I've ever done a YouTube video barefoot. And it's right to do that with Queen, because thinking about them and pondering them, I feel more comfortable to sit, you know, semi-naked from the ankle down. Well, fully naked from the ankle down, actually. So I am going to end this video in my love of Queen by showing you my bare foot. And you'll like it or you'll lump it. That's what you... bloody other leg cramps. God, Andy, you can't do this sort of gymnastics. So from my horrible foot there, I say, foot, do you want to finish up and finish off, do you? Yes, like and subscribe, and all that sort of stuff, and I love Queen too. How silly can you get? And I feel embarrassed doing such a thing, but I don't care. Because if Freddie could stand there dressed as that lady with a moustache pushing that vacuum cleaner around and then confusing all us teenage boys in the 1980s, because when Roger Taylor turned up as the schoolgirl, it was all very strange, wasn't it? Queen are bloody strange. They are out there. Queen's out there. Why do I love Queen? Because they were so bloody out there and nobody noticed.